What are they doing?
That's right.
Okay, got it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the work session for March 10th, 2020 for this year Vista City Council. We're expecting one more member here shortly. We're going to go ahead and start anyway. Two ladies are in D.C. at the National League of Cities Conference. So, once again, I would ask the members up here to speak into your microphones because we're still having problems with the microphone system. First item on the agenda is the March 12th, 2020 council meeting agenda, which is attached. Obviously, we do the call to order, invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the acceptance of the agenda. Is there any discussion on that need to be added or taken away from the agenda? Seeing none, we have city manager report is next. Chuck, is there anything you want to highlight today or discuss today in detail?
Well, by the time we have the meeting, we'll have another JPA board meeting on Thursday, so that'll be what I laid off with.
Okay. Any questions, Chuck? All right. Item is a consent agenda. We have the approval of the regular meeting minutes for February 21st, 2020. Any comments, corrections, or anything else on that agenda? Okay. Then we have appointment of Joseph Nelson to the Environmental Affairs Commission. Any discussion there?
No.
Okay. We next move up to the main event, Thursday night, which is the item number 3 on our agenda today, Community Development Block Grants. Mr. McLaughlin.
Hi. Good afternoon.
Be brief.
All right. So we've all been through this process. This is the FEP and the Annual Action Planning Process, CDBG. We invite applications for funding consideration. We have an email distribution list of all the nonprofits that we built over the years to contact them directly and into our normal outlets using announcements on social media, the city's website, and the local paper. We held a public meeting on the grant following our last month's Continuum of Care meeting to attendance. We had a full show of interest, but they did not follow through with an application by Friday's deadline. Our expected grant amount for the upcoming program year is $271,810, which is approximately the same amount that we received last year. 70% must go to low to moderate income household program services. You'll remember are kept at 15% and administration at 20%. In the second year, our consolidated planning period, we're guided by the goals that you established last year, with 2/3 projected to go towards public infrastructure facilities, followed by housing rehabilitation and services, and then neighborhood stabilization. Background before we go into our goals that the demolition of the Public Works Complex at New Avenue was predicated on the city turning that property into a community beneficial use as part of a larger redevelopment project. Property is an integral part of the Edgear Center Master Plan. The plan illustrates the potential for additional parking in areas, volleyball and basketball courts, and that fills in the mid-segment trail system linking Eddy Sear to Soldier Creek Park through the property. The city's management team recommends that 100% of this year's CDBG allocation go towards construction of the parking lot, the trail connections, basic maintenance and landscaping on that property. Number of paid parking spaces will determine the construction budget. The artificial turf fields are expected to generate more use for parking. The project is a low to moderate income neighborhood and will provide a benefit consistent with our consolidated plan goals. Furthermore, isolating or focused field project will reduce the administrative staff burden associated with projects, as well as the engineering support we'll need to carry them out. This project would be third in line behind Soldier Creek and Lander Plaza, which are scheduled for design in the upcoming year. Based on the survey we conducted last year, just with the target areas, about 20 miles of sidewalk needed, 139 ADA ramps, and 182 street lights. Based on funding levels, it would take a quarter century for us to address all these infrastructure needs, assuming current construction costs. So we have to prioritize on an annual basis what we could afford to address. One of the linkages that we looked at this year is along South Carmichael, adjoining Mountain Vista Mobile Home Park, where we received sidewalk easement as part of the development agreement that you approved last month. That construction cost, the estimated cost of that project came in at $258,000, or about 900 feet of curb, gutter, and sidewalk, as well as a street light. We also looked at reactivating the emergency home repair program, as well as demolition of additional structures. However, given anticipated construction costs of the items at Sears Center, we need full year allocation to accomplish a significant percentage of that scope of work. At the public hearing, you would normally be receiving presentations from the nonprofit community on their proposals. But in this case, we'll just be looking feedback and direction on our staff recommendation, allocating next year's CBG funding towards the redevelopment of the former Public Works yard to become part of Sears Park. And with that, I'll take any question.
We'll turn it back, Council. Matt mentioned that Sears Center Park was in line with 2 other projects. What were the other projects?
Mr. Mayor, you remember last year, DBG entailed $200 worth of funding towards Soldier Creek Park and Lower Plaza improvements. And we've, since that time, developed a concept plan. We've turned over to engineering, and that is now in their queue, construction documents, and that will take approximately 8 to 12 months to
I'd like to see
complete.
both of those projects at some point in time, check at them, especially Landwehr Plaza.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So, questions on CDB for Matt?
You go ahead.
You got called on. Oh,
I
you're
got
not ready?
called
You're not
first?
ready? If
I'm
you're
not ready. Hold on.
Go ahead.
Just quick, I know you're asking to spend 100% of the CDBG funds next year on the project. So we're not going to we're going to a percentage for any other applicants that we might get, or we're just going on. Because I know this year we gave some away also.
Just
So
explain that, Matt.
Yeah, again, we did a notice funding availability. We advertised the grant application, and the deadline was last Friday, and we contacted nonprofit past applicants
Okay.
directly.
And nobody
And nobody sent an application. And it may be due to, some of the federal funding requirements in terms of administration and the relatively small amount that historically the city's been out in the past. And again, we're capped 15% of the overall grant amount for program services. And they have to show a quantifiable increase, and some nonprofits, frankly, don't have the capacity to do more than what they're doing today.
well, I like seeing it going to one place instead of bidding it out 10% here, 30% here, 40% here, because we'll get a project done. So like this year, we should have Soldier Creek Park and yes, Landwehr complete. That's what we something to see and something to look at where the money is going. So I like the idea, but I know we don't have really actions to take them on Thursday night.
Ma'am.
I just say I actually agree with Councilmember Benning. I think that's a good way to do it, especially since nobody has applied. I think this is a great way to focus on.
Anybody else?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I debated making this comment because, well, I feel like I don't disagree that the park improvements are needed. I think it'll be great to have more parking there because anyone who's played soccer at Sears Center has seen like cars lining the road next to those ball fields. I know they need parking. I just think that this funding is intended for, improving the lives of our low-income citizens. I just don't feel like this use, like spending it on a park, is meeting that need. I don't feel like it's meeting that use need. Like the intent of CDBG funding is to, specifically the need for low-income housing, the need for improving lives, removing slum and blight, and all this stuff, and doing a project that we want to do because we want to do it, which even though we need to do it, I don't know, this funding is what it should be used for. That's my opinion.
And I understand opinion, but I would come back with a counter argument. We obviously don't have enough funds available in the low-income area to build the park out completely at one shot. And this is a way to, last year we basically cleaned off the eyesore, which was there, which obviously doesn't motivate anybody to improve the area. And this year, unfortunately, the first thing is the parking. That appears to be what's needed, but there's also future plans, and we use this or other funds to do the basketball, tennis court, or the other amenities, the pavilion or whatever else is planned on the park space that would improve recreation in the low-income area. Now, obviously, we're looking at recreation. We're not talking taking care of homeless. I get that point. But, it's a matter of, in fact, we're kind of having to nibble a little bit piece by piece rather than having the funds to be able to do the whole thing. Chuck?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilwoman Pacheco, originally our recommendation would have been to put about half of the funding towards a project that we're working on for a number of months with Good Neighbor Alliance to expand the capacity that they need for the homeless. And unfortunately, because of administrative issues and problems at Good Neighbor Alliance. They were not able to put that project together and put a grant application together. So this is really at this particular point in time. So this recommendation came pretty much at the last minute. We were going to recommend putting some towards this, but not the amount. So that's what happened, and we're very aware of people's concerns about that, and certainly wanted to work with them, but it couldn't happen this year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Oops. First of all, Sarah, are you aware of any of the Good Neighbor Alliance activity, any of the activity going on around Good Neighbor? Yeah, I think it might be helpful, if you had known that, to at least be aware. But I didn't have anything at first to say until you said that. I want to, first of all, say I agree with you. And what I would propose that we do, either as a council or asking staff to assist us with, actually discussing what you see or putting together a list of what any of us see as some of those issues that we believe is important to the need folks in our community. And there's some awareness of all of that because so many different groups working on a lot of those issues. But around housing and low income area, I think we ought to talk about that a little bit more, see what's out there, what Matt's hearing, what some of the groups are talking about, and then see where that fits in for next year into how CDBG funds, the 15% of, or whatever other part fits into the usage for CDBG funds, that we have maybe a more, oh gosh, I won't be here next year, but have a lively discussion around those issues.
That's a great topic for strategic planning sessions.
We really get into
We
it
can
deeper.
look at what's the issue with low-income housing, what's the issue with homeless, what's the issue with whatever else
All
may
the other
be.
needs, yeah.
And then say, okay, what can we do as a city, what's available, where can we have impact? All those discussions need to be held during strategic planning, and then it needs to be integrated into our two-year strategic plan, so we bring not only potential CDGB funding, but other funding that may be available.
Some of
That seems like the way forward.
Some of it does, because we always talk about the quality of life in the city, and so.
We don't define quality.
We don't,
Is that-
yeah, and so we may need to go a little deeper into this. Sarah, what do you think? Is that kind of how you see it, or what do you see as see it?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the hard thing. It's like that's why I debated making a comment. 'Cause I don't have, Instead, we should. Here's a new, and have some magic solution for you.
And I appreciate that you want a magic solution, we'd all love that too.
Let me give you
But the
this.
bottom line is, I think we need to, and it's just my opinion, but the one we've been successful in the past, we basically said, the issue, here's how we can break it down into edible pieces, and year after year after year, we do it. And I was making a comment with the Rotary on Monday about how 20 years ago, when we had Mayor Hessler and a brand new supervisor call, and newly promoted Lieutenant McDaniels up here with the task force for the West End. And we went through, and it was, believe me, it was a lot worse condition 20 years ago than it is now. And we had to take a little nibble of the apple, get where we are today. We did that every year. And these are the kind of things I think we need to talk about strategic planning, because I think he can take the nip off of the apple every couple of years and make improvements in the West End. And I wish I had a couple $100 million just to do it at once, but I don't see it happening.
No, it's not. CBG funds is not like a ton of money either.
But I wonder how much of that can be put towards some other project that may come along that we might open our eyes to. And I know, Matt, that you look far and wide for those opportunities for the grant-wise and whatever otherwise, funding-wise, or the projects in the community. But it could be the CDBG funds would supplement. Thank you. Other funds that could be available to us. Chuck? Oh, I thought, yeah.
And I guess the other thing too is we can in fact adapt or change 5-year plan we have now, as long as we through the proper process, right?
And maybe we take a step back and re-review what was approved last year in terms of the goals and priorities and what projected funding allocations were in that plan, and see if adjustments are needed. And we did a lot of good groundwork into identifying what the deficiencies are physically within the areas. Socially, there's still work that needs done through this reformed coalition on homelessness and figuring out what gaps are with the community, and something we're going to be working on over the next year. But I think Chuck wanted to add a comment as well.
Well, Mr. Members of Council, as Matt mentioned, part of the problems to do with CDBG rules as they are. Only a small percentage that can be carved out for these other types of programs, and certainly we've done a number of those through the years. We're at our best in terms of providing infrastructure. That's what the city probably does. They can do the best work with these funds. For other types of social-related projects, we really need partners to be more effective in doing that. And we searched for the 4 partners this year, and 4 other opportunities just didn't come up. And I think it's very difficult for them to meet the criteria, do all reporting and everything that's surrounds a CDBG grant and all the federal criteria.
I think Chuck actually kind of touched on what I was going to ask Mr. Matt. I'll ask Matt also. Just I signed a request for the home repair, and we didn't do a home repair this fiscal year, correct? Mm-hmm. The last one we did. What was the bottom line spent, and did we give it all away, or
we had 11 applications that amounted to $5,000 towards the program.
Okay.
And most of the repairs involved change-outs, heaters, minor roof repairs, things of that nature.
So
ADA ramps.
So I saw we have a 5%. I think it's 5%, a 20% surplus in the budget for $250,000. The end of that is anyway. If we don't hit that surplus, we don't use that 20,000. I think it's 20, roughly 33,000, 43,000.
For what?
For the proposal of the work, the project that we're spending,
We're going to use 100%.
even the
project.
contingency fund.
Contingency.
Yeah, have a 20% contingency fund in there.
But we have to use all funds.
Oh, no, we're budgeting anything for administration out of this year's allocation. 100% would go towards the Sears Center capital.
Okay.
Limit.
Anyone else see the contingency fund?
I'm
Tell us,
looking,
tell us where that is.
On the actual scope of the project, 4.
yeah, number 4,
If you look at the scope of the project,
page 20,
I don't have a page, I'm
22.
sorry.
Is that the Sears Center?
The Sears project, right. Breaks down the scope of the work. Project involves constructing approximately 36 linear feet of curb, gutter, sidewalk.
Oh, that's the South Carmichael project. That was an alternate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now proceed to Sears Center.
I don't see one.
That was my question. So,
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
so the South Michael, these are being proposed either or, so either do,
So our recommendation is to full fund the Sears Center improvements. We also looked at the cost of curb, gutter, and sidewalk along South Carmichael. We shared with you the amount for emergency home repair program. If you would do a housing project, we wouldn't be able to do as much on Sears Center, obviously, if you took away from that budget. And then, neighborhood stabilization, which means removing blighted structure by setting up, a demo program would be. We try to identify projects on each category that was part of the strategy or the consolidated plan for your consideration. If you want to do housing and urban development, the component for your consideration.
It skipped twice.
Okay. So procedurally then,
Feedback and direction, no vote.
direction, right
Right.
now, the recommendation from staff is we go do the Sears Center and the pathway,
Parking in the pathway and hopefully a little bit of landscaping.
a little bit of the landscape for the park. Objections, questions? Anybody have serious heartburn?
I,
Obviously, we're not taking a vote today, or we're not taking a vote. We're not taking a vote on.
I just feel like the other recommendations meet the purpose of those funds more, but it's my,
The last 2, you mean?
So, well, that's the question. Do we, there are a couple options for us here. One is we take the proposed project and cut it back to add, as Matt said, we would add the housing program. We could add. We obviously can't do both the first, second one because they would both take on money. I would say on the sidewalk on South Carmichael, it's much needed, and that was the one that basically ask Matt, talk to the developer to get that 7.5 feet of right of way on the west side of the road for a number of reasons. It's been like that for a while. It's probably wouldn't hurt to wait another year or two to do that, in my opinion.
They might be doing, I mean, aren't they going to be doing a lot of construction in that area?
Well, yeah, then it may be smart to wait.
I'd be smart to wait
Depending
because
on what they
they're
do with the
about to do a
lots.
lot of
Yeah.
construction there.
Yeah.
So I would not probably put in the sidewalk right when they're about to go under construction.
So it sounds to me like the question is, do we add a housing component to the Sears Center Park project or not?
Do we have any requests for this year that come in for housing projects?
Emergency home repairs, from time to time we get calls,
repair.
asking if money's available, and our answer is no at this
Okay.
time.
And did you have something in mind for the neighborhood stabilization? Did you have properties identified that need to be demolished? or-
Typically, every year we have properties that are condemned by court
do you?
order that
Residential.
would qualify, for CDBG funding. So this would supplement our normal abatement monies that we receive through our operating budget.
Do the normal abatement funds tend to cover the requests that you get?
They can, but this would augment, so it maybe reduce the need for some of the general fund money by using federal money in its place.
Again, I'll just say that I'm actually really good with the staff recommendation. We've put a lot of money into the area. I think this will round out what we're doing down in area. When people come forward and they have more, maybe next year we'll have our emergency repairs, can put money to that happening right now. The other nonprofits did not come forward with wanting anything, and I think there's a good recommendation from the staff.
And consolidated plan, one comment, called for $100,000 over the next 5 years. So we're in year 2. $100,000 for total allocation of the 5 years would go towards emergency home repair. So perhaps, in years 3 and 4, you do 50 and 50 to meet that target.
On the trail, I agree with Councilwoman Christine also. I think weighing everything that's come in and what we received, doing something with all the money, one project is the best way to go. With the multi-use path, currently have stops. If you go on Soldier Creek using the multi-use path, they have a pull-up stop, they have a sit-up stop. Are we on plan for that? Are we integrating anything in that along that same route that goes forward, or is this going to be the multi-use bike path, walk path?
I think our budget will not be able to afford amenities along the multi-use path. I'm just hoping to get the base parking and trail done
Okay.
with minimal amount of landscaping for the budget we have.
Okay. Chuck?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, obviously, $271,000 isn't a lot of money every year to allocate. But, it wasn't that long ago that in that area we were dealing with essentially gravel pit and cement company, an old dilapidated public works yard, no walking paths, and just a blight in that area. Taking this step will get us much closer to completing all the improvements the council has made and has actually turned it into a fine recreational area for the west. And it takes time, but we've chipped away at it, and this is just another step along the way.
Okay.
That's my only-
Now, before we go further, process question, what are the next steps?
The next is for me to take your input and develop a draft annual action plan by our citizen participation plan. We're obligated to carry out 2 public hearings. So Thursday will be the first public hearing. The second public hearing will be on the draft, which will be presented at your first meeting in April. And then, if it's acceptable, I'll be asking for your permission to send to HUD for their consideration approval. And again, the annual action plan essentially serves as our application to HUD for next year's grant.
Okay. I just want to add one thing at the end of this. I think this is a proposal. I did get this week I get a report back from HUD on this project, on these projects, and they basically give us a look. It looks at the projects and gives me a read back on basically the financial health that we spend money properly and it's going to where and we're well within the parameters of the full standards on all categories. And that's gone from my office to yours, but you're focused on administering the 5-year program. Just wanted to that publicly, and obviously, if he wants to see that report, I'm sure Matt or the city manager would be more than happy to provide that for you. Okay? What we got left here? As far as I can tell, that's it for the Thursday meeting. So we'll move on to items, the report on recent trips, meetings, and future meetings. That's
Meetings.
Lisa Share. Okay, board and commission liaison updates. Well, this is gonna be a really quick meeting today.
Really,
Okay.
I'm trying to see.
Now, future discussion on council requests, one of the things we talked about is when we do our strategic planning, we need to make sure we get these CDG projects in there. Anything else, or is there any, if, I guess, the assistant city manager's not gonna be back for Thursday, but are there some things that she's got for us for future council meetings?
Mr. Mayor, at the next work session, we're going to have at this work session a discussion on the history and background concerning our development fee proposals. And staff is working on that. I met today with finance staff regarding our proposal, and we'll be ready to begin discussion at your work session. So it will be an item that I think will 2 or 3 work sessions to work through, but we're in the process of refining the draft that we received from consultant, and we'll be ready to bring that forward next meeting.
Anything else from the council?
Question.
No.
When will we be bringing forward the commission stuff?
That's a good question.
The commission stuff.
What she's talking about is when we're going to have the change in administrative directives. So once that's voted on, and I don't have a timeline for you personally yet. I'm waiting for the staff to come back to me, and I'll ask that question today as to when they're going to come back for at least an initial review by me before we bring it to council. But basically, as we said before, the administrative let's see, ordinances, the administrative piece has to go first. Once that's been approved, then we can go on and do the decision of the various resolutions. And we still hanging out there. I need to talk about how we're going to talk with the youth commission first and come up with staff recommendations on the youth commission. So I have no idea do that. So that's still out there.
Okay.
That's the answer. Chuck, do you want to say that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we should be ready to bring that to you guys in April. So I don't think I don't want it to languish
Yeah, it
out there
shouldn't
too
linger
long.
that long.
It
Okay.
won't.
Okay. All right. And I apologize for not staying on top of it, because I told you guys I'd do that. So
We got this little thing called the budget, kind of.
yeah, I know we're trying to do budget at the same time, the same people. It's a bit of a challenge, but okay. Anything else? All right, then I hope we'll see everybody on time and healthy on Thursday. Meeting's adjourned.